Welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. Today we have Sherise with us. She's been traveling for 4 years now in a KZ Durango, and she is 26 years old. Full timing. You're crazy, but I'm happy for you. So it's awesome. We're going to talk about experiences and all that. And Sherise, if you want to just kind of talk about yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about you. Love to hear about it.
Okay, sure. I'm going to just start from the beginning. When I was 11 years old, I learned how to code for the game The Sims. So I've been coding for The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. For The Sims 4, I turned into a kind of a content creator, one of the top ones out there by the time I was 17 years old. So that helped fund a lot of my life of growing up. And now I just quit my job working for one of the most respected cybersecurity companies out there in the IT field. So for my first 3 years, I was actually working remotely from my RV all across the United States, seeing United States and Canada.
Holy moly, Sims. I haven't heard that name in a while.
I used to play that game when I was little all the time. We would do all-nighters playing it on the computer before they ever put it onto a video game system like a console like, PlayStation. It was always on the computer. So that's crazy that you were part of that. Like, that's so wild. Super cool, though. Super cool.
Full-time simulation. Holy cow. I haven't heard that for, probably 2 decades.
That's crazy, man.
If you know Sims, awesome. You've lost a little bit of your life to it. It's taken over at one point or the other.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I never really played. I watched people play. So, but anyway, let's kind of get into it here. So, personal journey. What kind of inspired you to do full-time RVing? Can you share your story a little bit and how you first got started, and just kind of walk us through that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm originally from the United States Virgin Islands. Mm-hmm. Because of that, when I came to the United States, I settled immediately into Florida with my brother, where he was getting his doctorate degree. And I quickly realized, I don't know if I want to live in Florida. But at that point, I had been making enough to say I should buy a house. And that decision, it kept me up at night, because I was at that point signing over for 30 years of my life. I'm like 22 years old. I'm like, okay, I'll be 52. That would be a lot. So I sat back and I kept thinking about that, and I felt so stuck. I'm like, I want to have my own space, but I want to be able to move to different places. So then I learned about Keep Your Daydream. I started following them on YouTube, and I realized, okay, I might be able to do this in an RV. So at that point, I decided I'm going to buy an RV. So I went to almost every single RV dealer in Florida, just looking through all of the different RVs. And then I came across this one, and it kind of checked all of the boxes I thought at that point in time. I learned that there were a couple of things that I couldn't change in the RV that I wanted to, but at the same time, it ended up being perfect for what I needed.
Very much. And that's a 21 KZ Durango. What's the floor plan on that?
I have a 291 BHD, so it has a bunkhouse in the back and a main bedroom as well. So it's 2 bedrooms basically and a 1.5 bath. And that really served the purpose for us. At that point in time, I had started RVing with my partner at the time. Since then, we have ended our relationship, but I still continued with the RV. So I'm towing a 37.5-foot RV by myself, fifth wheel.
Oh my goodness! So it's like the bunkhouse is like your office space.
Yeah, I converted it to have a standing desk, and that served as like my partner's main office space. And we had like 3 commercial printers in there. It's crazy the amount of stuff that we were able to put in there. And then I primarily worked on the dinette because we both worked remotely for tech companies.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome! That's the way to do it. I would love to do it, but I work here. They make me be here. I'm okay with it. We'll get there someday. Preparation and planning. So it took a little bit to do that. You were thinking about buying a home to, probably I'm thinking you might have been working from home because you're working remotely right now. What are the steps you took to become a full-time RVer?
That's a great question. You would think that there was a lot more preparation, but I really kept the idea that it's better to start now than later. So when I decided to buy the RV, I didn't really have a plan. I kind of just actually bought the RV before I even had a truck. I was like, okay, I have a huge full RV. Okay, now I have to go buy a truck during COVID, which looking back now and learning about COVID prices, that really did hurt in the chest a little bit at that point in time. And then I just parked my RV in my apartment complex for a little while, and then I just moved all my stuff in and took off. I should have planned it a little bit better. And if I were to give any type of advice for anybody else, I'd say take a good idea of what you want your first road trip to be before you just take off with your RV. I give you a good idea of kind of where you want it to go.
Yeah.
I started off with 1,000 Trails about 3 weeks into my stays. I was like, this daily rate or weekly rate was getting really expensive. So I switched over to 1,000 Trails after my first month. And then I kind of just started going all across the US with that.
Holy moly.
That's so cool, Sherise. I want to know what your daily life and routine is kind of like. You know, what's the day look like for you? Walk us through that, like in the full-time RVer. And now you just mentioned you had quit your full-time job. So what does a day look like for you? Right now you're doing a podcast, but like, what does it look like for you on a day-to-day basis? I know last week we were chatting. You had run into some, I guess you could call it technical difficulties, but like just some stuff that was going on with the RV. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Right now, I would wake up. I turn on. Right now, I have full solar. So even though I'm in the middle of the woods, I have enough solar to run an air fryer, AC, all of that. So I just start the day watching some TV, just like maybe watch a little bit of SpongeBob. And then from there, I'm like, okay, what do I want to do with the day? And it would really depend. So yesterday I went over to the Granite Hot Springs in Wyoming. So I was like, okay, I'll just go over there, take out my drone, take a couple shots. It looks beautiful outside. And I think that tends to be a lot of my inspiration is like, well, what's really capturing my attention at any given point in time? Of course, some days I'm like doing regular things like laundry. Other days I'm just troubleshooting. One thing I realized about RVing is that you kind of have to embrace that even if you plan your day, it's not going to go accordingly. Yesterday I started my truck and I realized very quickly that even though it said I had 50 miles left when I parked last night, it says I have less than 10 miles left. It just says low at a certain point. So I'm like, okay, well, I might be out of gas because I'm down a dirt road. That's about a good 40 minutes of driving to the nearest gas station. So
hopefully it's downhill.
It was not. It was straight uphill, climbing a little mountain. So I'm like, okay, well, I have emergency fuel for this reason.
Yeah, there you go.
I do have a question too. So while you're out there and you cook, you got your food. What's like your go-to for food that you like to eat out there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say I like to just like grill a hot dog. That's like my go-to when I'm like wanting to just like relax and enjoy the scenery is like grilling a hot dog. Sometimes I tend to just go out to a local restaurant just to get a little touch of what their culture is like. And you learn kind of what's popular in that area. Like Montana, it's always the huckleberries. You're going to get that in the most unique ways. I actually had a bartender recently he picked some huckleberries, he put in a container, mashed it, and put it into any of the drinks he was making that night. And That's just those unique experiences that you get in an RV.
Oh, yeah. You traveling across the U.S., you're going to see a whole lot of different geographical looks. All the biomes are different. People are different. Some people will say hi, some people won't, when you walk in.
True.
Part of it.
So to go along with this, we were just mentioning, Sherise, that like last week I was chatting with you and we were talking about, Bish Fix, and I was trying to get you in touch with our Bish Fix team up there because you were experiencing a little bit of some difficulties with some issues on the RV. I would like to, open this up for the discussion for other RVers who are listening to this right now and maybe some of those who follow you. The reality of it is there will be times where an RV breaks down or some part of an RV breaks down. And I would just like you to, share with us some of the challenges you go through and, how you're able to overcome those and just be open and honest about some of the more recent things that you've gone through because everyone thinks it's so glamorous, which it is. There's an amazing opportunity here to be a full-time RVer, but there are some challenges. So we'd love to hear about those.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say within each time that you move the RV, you can expect there might just be one little thing that goes wrong each time. And you really have to embrace it. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm sitting in my main slide, which is actually broken at the moment. It won't go out to give me my extra few feet of space. With that, it's one of those situations where you have to think like, okay, number one, your go-to would be, what's the closest RV place that you can get repaired at? I looked at it, over 4 hours of driving, so I would have to go there, drive back to continue my trip. But I think that with Bish Fix, you have something that's really interesting where you could get troubleshooting help, because I think a lot of the problems I go to on a daily basis is really just troubleshooting or changing a fuse or something of that nature. For example, the other day I blew a fuse, and I was able to just go down to the local hardware store and get a new fuse, put it in, and continue about my day. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of cases, most people won't know to look at a fuse. So I think that something like Bish Fix would be really helpful for RVers as a whole. And with that, I spent a lot of time like in forums and groups, just like, okay, I've had this issue. How do you fix it? And I sometimes see other people who have issues and how they fixed it. And that allows me to grow a lot of my knowledge around my RV. At this point in time, I've rewired my whole RV almost. I've done a lot of things, like my 7-way pin, which is within fifth wheels, you have a cord that connects your RV to your truck. What I quickly realized was that my brakes weren't working, but there's no error code or anything that your truck will give you when your brakes no longer work. Well, now you might feel it when you're trying to stop and you're like, this is taking way longer to stop.
Mike.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, what's happening? So I hadn't towed my RV for like a year. I kind of had it stagnant for a little while. And then I'm driving it again. I'm like, I don't know. It feels different. I took apart my that 7-way area where all your cords combine, and I realized that one of the cords came loose. It's just completely loose. It's a hot cable just standing by itself.
Yeah.
And I had wondered, because my truck brakes suddenly were like going bad every few weeks. Like, truck brakes are very expensive.
Yeah.
So my brake pads and my brakes were just completely gone. I'm like, okay, that's strange. Why is that the case? Okay. Looked at that. It's a blue wire. The blue wire is the wire that connects your brakes. So my brakes were completely gone for however long. Now my Ram did a great job. It stopped the vehicle each time. So it wasn't like, whoa, okay. I did some mountain passes during this time.
Wow.
So yeah. And these were like 15% grades. These weren't like little, like, okay, I'm going up a hill.
Yeah. And just eating the brakes away.
Yeah, just eating it away. So like learning how to troubleshoot was essential, because even if I brought it into a dealer, they would probably not be like, okay, immediately, like, it's your brake cord's loose. Like, that's not something they usually look for. But you end up learning the feel of your RV and how it works. So, and with that, inspection comes. You're gonna want to inspect more and more. Now I'm like, okay, every 6 months I'm gonna go over to that pin cable and just check it, make sure that my 7 ways, like, all of those cables are looking good. I'm gonna just troubleshoot all of those different things now.
Yeah, so you were pretty tech savvy. It sounds like you helped create sims and all that. That's incredible. For one, I can't understand that stuff. Coding is just another language that I don't have time for. But were you handy at all before that, or before the RV, like plumbing, electrical, all those things? Or is this kind of taught you to be that way?
It has taught me how to be that way. Before I did my solar install this year, I didn't know what a watt was last year. I didn't know what volts were. So it's definitely been a learning curve. And with that, like, I've learned so much. And I think part of like wanting to do my own solar install was because I'm like, I want to learn if something breaks, how do I fix it?
Oh yeah.
How is everything connected? And during the solar install, I didn't realize at that point that I would have to take apart most of my RV, but I did anyways. And I feel like it's been one of those really great like learning experiences, because now I know how my RV works from the back of my hand. I decided to do like a 24-volt system for my batteries, which made me realize, okay, what is 12-volt wiring? How does it work? Okay, how can I get 24-volt batteries to charge my 12-volt batteries? And like all those different nuances.
Well, you sound smarter than I do.
You're speaking another language for me too.
Yeah. Yeah. You live in an RV for 4 years. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to learn some stuff. So that's awesome. Yeah. So you said you were in the tech world, and you said you recently not in the tech world, but
Yes.
like, what I'm asking now is like, how do you sustain this lifestyle financially? Like, I know you got Instagram, Facebook, all YouTube, TikTok, all those things, but you're also doing a podcast now, and we'll put those links in there. I think Jordan had a link up there for you all. But how do you sustain this financially? What are the specific tips you could help to tell a friend to earn this income that you do this to keep this lifestyle rolling?
Yeah, I think the best way to sustain it, I won't lie, is to have a remote position. That would be the best way to do it. For me personally, right now, I'm creating ads for different companies. So I help them on ad campaigns primarily. A lot of what I am is essentially in my head a salesperson, which all my friends tell me all the time. They're like, you could be a great salesperson. And with that, I realized that it was a lot of marketing. So I just learned what my internal skills were, and I just doubled down on them throughout time, and that's truly helped me. And so I would say look into yourself and find what you like to do the most, and then see if it's something that you could do in a remote setting, because a lot of jobs are just really skills, and with those skills you can find different ways to do them if you want to do it on an entrepreneurial way versus having it on your 9-to-5 way.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's hard to do remote work. So I was a 1099. I was my own boss for a while, and it's like you got to drive yourself, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere, hanging around by yourself. Do you have any pets?
No, I do not.
No, man. You're killing it. I couldn't do it. I'd drive myself nuts.
I think it's commendable though, Sherise.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you're out there and you're doing the thing and, making it work. And I think just from my old background prior to Bish's, it's one of the things I could see being super beneficial is like, I know you have your website and you have your content that you're creating, and obviously you're selling for services and stuff like that you just mentioned, but even a course that you could sell. I mean, I can imagine myself, right? If I had the aspirations to be a full-time RVer, if you had a book written on that or something, and then you sold that, or a course that you did that, like, I mean, working around entrepreneurs for the last 6.5 years myself, you have like some amazing value you could provide to a lot of people out there to earn additional income and provide value at the same time. I think it's incredible. So just wanted to add that on there. I think it's so cool what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about some budgeting advice? So you said you got in 1,000 trails quite quickly in your journey. You were talking about it's expensive. So 1,000 trails kind of helps you out, kind of see the deals around, I'm guessing. What budgeting advice that you could give to someone that's considering full-time RVing or that's already doing it, but could use this advice?
Number one, I'd say is the more that you plan, the more money that you save. Now that's a hard one for a lot of RVers, but having a lot of these different memberships like Passport America allows you to get 50% off of your RV site night to night for up to 7 days usually. At an RV site. So that's already 50% off. That's half the money that you have back. Now it requires you to have to call the park in advance by a few days, or knowing where you're going to be before the night of, usually. Another way to save money, I'd say, this one's going to be hard to say, but solar. It's because solar has a high upfront cost, but if, let's say, you're deciding to quit your job and then go into full timing, you pay all that money up front, because now you can camp anywhere. You can usually take advantage of camping in national forests, which offer free camping. So for the past month, I haven't paid $1 in RV park fees at all. Whereas usually I looked at my year to year, I pay about $45,000 a year to RV parks on my budgeting. Last year was 54, but the years before were like 45,000 and changing.
Well, that's not cheap. Cow. Yeah, so you got to find ways to save more money. That's awesome. So the solar, did you get professionally installed?
No, I did it all myself.
Oh my gosh! So what do you have up there? How many watts do you have on the roof?
On the roof, I have 800 watts of solar, but my battery system is really the major part of my solar system. It's the equivalent of 12 volt, 1000 amp hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'll do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, you have one AC or two ACs on that thing?
Two ACs, and I could
Does it
run
run-
both if I desired.
Oh my gosh, but a certain amount of time can, depending on sun and all that, right?
Yeah, it's so variable with sun, but on the battery system itself, it could probably run for about 10 hours of the AC with absolutely no sun out there.
Wow.
I also have a portable generator if I ever needed to top off the batteries, but ever since I added in the panels, I haven't had to run the generator. So since I charge the batteries and put on panels, the sun has just been putting it to putting in enough power. So right now at this point, I've done 100 kilowatt hours of just sunlight powering the RV so far, and that's over 1 month.
Holy moly! Did you recently put the solar on?
Yes, 1 month ago.
Yeah. Do you think you made your money back?
That's a good question. Would I have been able to camp still without a job? No. So I would say at that point it's paid itself off because I could quit my job, but otherwise I'd say not yet. I think I looked at my full break even and it was looking at about 1 year. So in a 1 year, I would have remade all the money back from camping off grid. But I think it's subjective because I wouldn't have been able to camp in a beautiful place like this. I'd be stuck in an RV park. Yeah. So I'm like, what is that worth to me?
Yeah, definitely. I like getting out there, getting off grid a little bit, away from everybody. But there's something to be said about camping with people as well, around people, 1,000 trails and all that. And doing it for 4 years, I'm sure you've made some connections, met with people, and made some really cool friends. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Who you connected with, and like friends and family, how you stay connected with all them? Love to hear about that.
Okay. So staying connected with friends has been exciting being an RVer because I'm usually somewhere new. So if I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do Texas, everyone's like, oh, I live in Texas. You should come by me, and then I'm just parked at a Cracker Barrel and just walking over to some restaurant or the other to hang out with my friends on just like some random basis. It's just like the most unique way of seeing friends because I'm from the United States Virgin Islands originally. Most people go home for like Carnival and then they might see their friends. But some of our friends don't go home for Carnival. Because of that, they're still in the States and I would never get to see them. But with RV, I'm like able to say, okay, you know what? I want to go see this friend right now. We're going to go over there. At one point in time, I was over in Colorado just because I was like, oh, I would love to see one of my friends. Yeah. And that's the flexibility that RV life really gives you, is really being able to make the way or time for people. One of my friends got married and I was able to just take the RV and move it over to be close to their wedding, whereas I would likely have not been able to attend otherwise.
Very cool. Now, have you made friends outside of your original friend base before you started traveling? So you started traveling, started going to the campsite. Have you made friends with folks at campsites?
Absolutely. I think I usually tend to make friends with like people who are randomly camping or the camp hosts. The camp hosts are usually really fun people as well. So for example, at one of my last spots that I was camping at, this one was one of the off-grid ones as well. This guy had the same RAM as I did with the same packages and everything. So I was like, I rolled on my window. I said, nice truck. He said, you too. I love your truck. And we were just talking for like an hour and a half, just talking about RVing and Starlink and going on and on about kind of what have made major differences for us. And I think that's typical for me. My former partner used to say, oh no, anytime that somebody starts talking, because she knew that we were going to talk for hours. We're going to just go crazy because those are some of the best conversations that you would have.
Absolutely.
So it's cool about the community factor, Sherise, because as you've been talking, a friend of mine actually, like, they went out and started sailing last year, and I didn't even know that was a thing, right? So it's a little different industry, but it was like they bought a sailboat, they sold their house here in Idaho, and then they were renting out their other homes here in Idaho. They went out to Florida. They just sailed for a year. The kids are in high school. They homeschooled the kids, and they went out. And I was like, wow. So I followed them on social media just because I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. But then through that experience, I saw that they were like meeting up. They had they would set up in the marinas at different locations that they were going to. And they made all these sailing friends and families. So they're like still like lifelong friends because of it. The community factor was just one of the coolest things that I learned from that. So it sounds like in the RV industry, things you've said about like even forums, like you've met friends at campsites, you've met friends around, but even the forums, you're getting help from people. So it speaks to the RV community. It seems like it's a really cool group of people. It's something that I'm learning as I'm relatively new to the industry here with Bishes and stuff. So it sounds pretty cool. Just like hearing from you guys, there's power in community. So I do have a question for you as we move forward. Is you're in Wyoming right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite experiences? Maybe tell us what's your favorite place you've gone to? Like what's the best spot you've gone to in the last 4 years? And what's a place that you desire to go to that you would like to go to that you haven't quite yet gone to yet?
Oh, that's a great one. So my favorite place to go to is Oregon. I think Oregon has a lot of free camping opportunities, and it's a lot less populated in comparison to something like Washington or I think Idaho's hikes were very popular. A lot of trails that I went to, I kept seeing people. But Oregon, I could go on a good 3-mile hike and see nobody. And I think that was interesting to me. Maybe it's my introversion or being an introvert that says, okay, this is great. But there's a lot of free camping opportunities, a lot of national forests. There's a lot of different places to see and a lot of places to hike that are less populated, and so many waterfalls. Like if you like waterfalls like I do, I go chasing waterfalls. I know we're not supposed to. So that's definitely been top tier for me. A place that I would like to go but haven't gone yet would be Custer State Park in South Dakota.
You'll love it. Very cool.
I really want to go to that general area. I love rocks.
Yeah.
So rock formations out there look amazing. And I'm like, I want to do that so badly.
Yeah. I'll give you some advice on Custer. Don't pull your fifth wheel up the Needles Highway. Just don't. Just don't do it. So park somewhere down in the valley by Rapid or Sturgis even. That's going on right now. My dad's heading that way.
Okay.
Lucky guy. But anyway, beautiful area. It's kind of similar here in Idaho, but it's a biker's dream, right? So the Needles Highway, you go up there. I mean, a fifth wheel will not make it up that highway. You'll end up pinch forking it and all that. Yeah, it's not good. So go up the Needles Highway, but just go with your truck.
Okay, thank you, because I needed that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the unexpected benefits of the RV lifestyle that you've discovered, Sherise? Like something that you didn't expect out of the whole journey, but like just some of the benefits. I mean, you've mentioned hiking, you've mentioned the community, you've mentioned all these. I mean, you've learned how to repair you're basically an RV tech. You're a content creator. All these random like unexpected things are kind of cool side benefits of RVing. But what is something that maybe you haven't mentioned that maybe people that are listening to could be like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like, what's something you've learned?
This might be part of community, but I'd say networking. Like you end up meeting people that can help you in so many unique ways that you would not have truly thought of. So there's a lot of people that would say like, if you ever need a job, if you ever need this or the other, you could get one just by really meeting people. I didn't expect that for it to be like also another way to network. When I first started RVing, I was parked in Austin, Texas, and this lady, she had just gotten her RV as well, and she reversed directly into my truck that was parked while I was inside, and I didn't know that happened. And my neighbor, he ran out. He immediately stopped the lady. He stood in front of her motorhome because she started driving away. And she's like, no, you're not going anywhere. I got his card, and he turned out to be one of the VPs of one of the top, I'd say 100 companies in the United States. And that was interesting, building that relationship that way. And just meeting a lot of really unique people, career-wise, could also be very beneficial. That I didn't expect that to be a benefit of RV life. And then another one I'd say is the ability to avoid danger. So let's say I'm actually a Florida resident. So whenever it comes to hurricane season, if there's a hurricane coming my way, I could immediately just say, okay, I'm going to go right now. And, I'm not having a major change in my lifestyle. I still have my bed. I still have my fridge. All my food's still good. I'm able to evacuate without having a major change in life. That wasn't something I really thought about. Like, it might be obvious to some people, but for me, it was just like, okay, well, I could just change. Or if we have a major heat wave, I could immediately get my RV and I'm like, go up a little bit in elevation and now I have completely different weather. And I've been doing that a lot this summer. It's been hundreds of degrees in areas that it usually is not. So I've been able to just go, okay, I was in Boise, it was 105 degrees. I went to Stanley, it was 85 degrees to 75. And just really seeing that change in like temperature just because I want it. I don't know, that's something I never thought that you could do, just like control the temperature almost.
No, that's awesome. And I don't think that was not what I was thinking of. That wasn't on my bingo card as far as things that I would have expected you to say. So that's perfect. And then also to touch base on your discussion about networking, there's a book that's called The Power of Who that I read last year. I mean, it's the concept of just who you know, right? Like networking and just the power of that, right? And you're just like, even in the RV industry, the RV world, that's such a true principle, right? The power of who you get to meet people. Speaking of that, like JB, myself, we're speaking to you on a podcast for Bish's RV because you reached out to us. Like this industry, you're networking, you're able to make this connection, these authentic relationships. I think it's pretty cool. So it speaks to that. I was going to ask you before JB like wraps this one up. I wanted to ask you real quick. You mentioned you came through Boise. Are you ever coming through Boise again? Because we would love to have you come take a tour of the office here and maybe check out the dealerships that we got or whatever. But like, are you planning on coming back through Boise at any point?
Yeah, I think I might be there in about 2 or 3 weeks or something of that nature.
Really? Hey,
yeah, roughly.
Let us know when you're coming because we would love to like see you and we could have you come through the office.
Oh, that'd be great. And that also makes great content, which is kind of one of the things I go for. Yeah, and I was just thinking about what you said about sailing being similar. I've said this probably 3 times. I'm from the Virgin Islands. We have a major sailing culture out there. So a few of the students that I went to college with, I went to the University of Virgin Islands. Some of them lived on boats, and I had a teacher that also lived on a boat. So the boats docked in the bay for our university. So our university has its own beach. Great for college students.
Jealous. I should have went there.
Yeah, seriously. I went to Boise.
What middle of Nebraska.
So they have their boats in the middle of the bay, and she would just come in with her dinghy each day right before class. You'd see her just sailing in and just do the class and then just live on the boat for the rest of the day. Or sometimes she'll be on the beach with her kids and just having fun. And I've always looked at that as like a lifestyle. So with RVing, I think it was last year, I got my boating license because I was like, okay, once I finish RVing the United States and Canada, I'll probably do sailboat during winter and then RV during the summer. And that's like the mixture of the two. Because I think there's such similar cultures. Like even when you think about Airstreams, they're based on yachts and how they're decorated. They're all marine grade. So there's a lot of tie-in between the two cultures.
So cool. That's funny because that's what came to my mind when you were talking this whole time. I was like, holy cow. Yeah, JB, you want to,
a couple more things?
Yeah, a couple more things I think to touch base on.
Yeah, the future plans, you kind of hit on that. So 2 things, a little bit of advice for beginners. Anything, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. Anything else you would kind of mention for, it's like, hey, someone considering the lifestyle, what would be like the first thing, hey, if so facto you want to do this, what is it?
I would say number one thing is to come into it with an open mind of your adventures. There's going to be things that may go wrong, but it all depends on how you handle it. If it's something that you laugh off versus if it's something that you get angry about. Backing in the RV, for example.
I saw that video, by the way. You hit that rock.
Yeah. you're going to make a mistake at some point in time. You're going to be tired. You're going to just come into your spot at night. Never do that. It's not recommended. I did it last time. Always bad every time. And with that, you have to come into it with a mind with that. Okay, something might break. If it breaks, we're going to fix it and it's going to be okay. But if you're like, I broke this, it ruins your whole vacation.
Yeah. It's a learning experience, right?
Yes. Every time you do a drive, you're going to learn something new. Like, I've been doing this for 4 years. Every single time I have driven my RV, I have learned something new still.
It sounds like you bounce around a lot. So you got a whole encyclopedia of what you've learned.
Yep.
That's your book. That's the book, Sherise.
What you learned RVing and what to avoid before. But speaking on that, because you came from the tech world and then became your own little RV tech because you lived in it for so long. It's it's good to be self-sufficient like that. What are some favorite gadgets, gizmos, or add-ons that you've done for your RV? I know you said the solar was wonderful and it's done a lot of good things for you in the short amount of time that you've had it. But what else have you added on, or gadgets, gizmos that you like to use in your RV?
Oh, I will say I have spent over about $40,000 on different RV gadgets. I looked at it. I did the full thing from start to finish of what I spent on Amazon on different gadgets, and that's the rough number. It's a little bit over 40,000 at this point. And I'd say the top things that I've loved would be, number one, jump starter. Having your own battery jump starter for your truck or your RV is going to be essential. If you're camping, especially in the cold, your batteries die very quickly. Mm-hmm. And being able to jump start them on your own will save you a lot of time. I've used my jump starter way more times than I can count. It's paid for itself many, many times over. That's going to be my number one gadget I always recommend for people. And number two, I would say it would be, this one's a hard one, but I'd say fridge locks. There's baby locks that you can put on your fridge that will stop it from opening. Baby locks, they cost about $10, and they have saved me countless items from falling out of my fridge. Even though they have those little locking mechanisms on RV fridges, they still have a tendency to fail if you're on a dirt road, which I tend to be on a lot. Yeah. Or even when you're crossing the interstate from Louisiana to Texas, that part is terrible. So having those locks on your fridge, I think would be really beneficial. I'm thinking of number three, because I think having an air fryer is good.
I believe that.
Air fryer. It can air fry, bake, dehydrate. And you're like, what do you do with a dehydrator? You can make backpacking meals on a trail with your dehydrator at home without having to pay for a lot of those backpacking meals. I think that's essential for saving a lot of money, because each backpack meal is $12. The dehydrator, $100. You can make your own food at home. I strongly recommend those. I'd say those are kind of the top three items I strongly recommend.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've had, with the 4 years of doing this, I'm sure you've become a somewhat expert, living the RV lifestyle. Sherise, real quick, what are your channels' names? I know Jordan put the links in here, but just kind of tell us what those names are real quick so we can sign off and help you get some followers.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook at Traveling with Sherise. I'm posting on my stories daily of all of these unique adventures. It's going to be so much fun to have you all join me.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're with the RV Voice. Give us a follow, give us a link, give Sherise some love, follow her and watch her stuff and watch her travels go down the road. And thank you so much for sharing your tips and tricks and all that. And guys, Shane, thank you very much for being here. Sherise, thank you so much for joining us today, and stay tuned for more from the RV Voice.
Thank you.